Every fighter has their motherfucking year. And 2024 was the year of Ilia Topuria, Alex Pereira, Renato Moicano, Joaquin Buckley, you could even fucking say Carlos Prats. There's a lot of candidates. Now 2025 is right around the motherfucking corner. And today I'm going to be predicting which UFC fighters I think are going to be on top of 2025. Which fighters I think are going to be unstoppable. We have a few, kind of one or two from each division. So just jumping into it straight away with Jack Della Maddalena. Number 4 welterweight. This guy is probably the most underrated in the entire division. And I know that there's a lot of sleepers in that division, like Michael Morales, even Bilal Muhammad, who's the fucking champion, gets slept on, and I don't blame you guys, he's putting us to sleep, but still, JDM, man, nobody's talking about this guy, and I think it's a shame because him versus Shavkat, I think would have been ideally the next move, but with them trying to get the title off of Bilal, and with Shavkat kind of being inactive, JDM was fucking hurt since the Burns fight. He's still kind of out right now. They're trying to get him back for the Sydney card next year, but that's all beside me. But again, ideally, we would have seen a world where we got to see Shavkat versus JDM, because I think welterweight, after the whole Edwards and Bilal thing, we kind of needed a clear-cut number one contender that wasn't just Usman, and we didn't really get that. But JDM, man, like, I think this guy's gonna have it crazy next year, okay? 7-0 in the UFC, he's 17-2 overall, and the only 2 losses in his entire career are from his first 2 fights. So, only 28 years old, this guy has a really fucking exciting fighting style. I mean, 82% finish rate, he's really fun on the feet. On the ground, I still think he's making improvements, but, like, he's not awful down there. I do think big grapplers are gonna be a challenge for him, but, like, nothing that he can't beat. I mean, Gilbert Burns is a pretty dangerous grappler. He's on the older side. I get it, but like still, even though Gilbert was getting the better of him on the ground, like look who won that fight, you know what I'm saying? How I think this guy's year is going to go next year, I think they're going to book him versus, well, it's tricky to say, because I think there were rumors of him versus Usman going down in Sydney, but now Usman's trying to be booked versus Shavkat for UFC 310. I know Kobe's been talking about him versus JDM in February. Honestly, dude, I can't stand Kobe, but half the reason is because he doesn't fucking fight. So if we do see that fight, I think Kobe is kind of a tough matchup for JDM, but I do think he would win that one. Here's the thing. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. I think JDM is going to fight twice next year, and I think he's going to win both times, okay? I think there's a lot. I got the rankings pulled up in front of me. I think there's a lot of favorable matchups for him. I think the guys that can give him the toughest matchups are probably Shavkat, a Sean Brady, a Kobe Covington, maybe a Michael Morales, but like maybe not even Kobe, because I think the JDM could catch Kobe. I think he could take him out by a finish. I mean, Kobe had a fucking embarrassing last performance against Leon Edwards. The guy that we used to know for putting on the volume, the pace, and the pressure had none of that until literally the last 4 or 5 minutes of the fight. So I think he would beat Kobe. I mean, the real big challenges I see for him. Oh, I didn't say Bilal either. I think Shavkat, Bilal, and Sean Brady basically are going to be the 3 that really test him. I think Usman versus JDM would be a sick fight, but I still think JDM gets the better of him. If this was 2 years ago, I would have leaned towards Usman for sure. But even Edwards, I think he beats Edwards, Ian Gary, even a guy like Sean Brady. Like, JDM could take out Sean Brady's lights, even though Sean Brady's an elite grappler. Obviously, JDM's primarily a striker. He's going to want to keep it on the feet, but like, match him up against a guy like Edwards and Gary. I think he beats all those guys. And the only reason he hasn't fought since the Burns fight is because of injury. So it's like, I like this guy for the Sydney card next year, whether you give him Kobe or Usman or whoever the fuck. Sean Brady even, I think he's going to get the better of him, and then he'll fight sometime in the later half of the year. I don't know if they're going to give him a title shot, because I think this whole thing with now Usman, Rakhmonov, and Bilal having the love triangle for the belt and the interim belt, I don't really know what's going to go on with that, but it seems like the division's about to get fucking messy up there, and who knows, like, when they would do the Bilal versus Shavkat fight. But yeah, JDM, dude, fucking watch out for this guy. So people forget, man. Moving on to, I think this one, I'm going to keep this one kind of short because I think this might be a more obvious choice, but Islam Makhachev, dude. I don't think we're going to see that Ilia Topuria fight anytime soon. I think 2026 could probably be the earliest. If he goes out there and he beats Saryukin, he's my lightweight GOAT, in my opinion. I mean, you could totally make an argument right now that he's above Khabib and he already is the lightweight GOAT, and I'm not going to fucking stop you at all. Like, I think that's a totally fair argument. I mean, you can kind of swap the two, but I think for sure if he does get the better of Saryukin, I mean, even if it's a decision, I mean, this guy's a big finisher though as of late, especially, so I could see him knocking him out. I could see him getting the sub. Like, Makhachev is so fucking well-rounded, and he's one of those pound-for-pound fighters. Like, I could say with confidence that I do think he's the best pound-for-pound fighter right now. I'm a big Volk guy. He's literally my favorite fighter, so I could not stand this dude going into both of those fights. The rematch too, I was shaking because, you know, we had a little bit of a tub Volk, so I was like, oh fuck. I know what's coming, dude. So that shit hurt. I even fuck with Poirier, but like the more he got matched up against the people I really like he's still here, man, and he's beating them, and he's doing it in entertaining ways. Like I know this guy kind of has a weird rep because like, you know, hey brother, let's talk now, you know, kind of like that daggy shit, mountain man type of shit. So people kind of assume that he's a boring ass fighter or that he just kind of sits on you, and like, dude, this guy kind of gets the fuck after it. I mean, earlier in his career, maybe not, but especially as of late in the past few fights, I mean, this guy's been an absolute terror. He's going out there and putting on statements. Alexander Volkanovski was one of the best strikers in the UFC at the time. And the second time, yeah, I know, like the knockout, I'm kind of taking it with a grain of salt because again, we're talking about Tub Volk, but Dustin Poirier, one of the best boxers and strikers in the lightweight division. Charles Oliveira, the most dangerous submission artist in UFC history. He's beating King Ring, he's beating Dan Hooker, he's beating Drew Dober. Like this guy has kind of a stacked fucking resume. And if he beats Arman Tsarukyan, who I feel like is the clear definitive number one contender in the division right now, I mean, there's not much else. But what is he going to do after that, right? I think if Bilal is not the champion, because he doesn't want to move out to fight Bilal, right? If Bilal is not the champion, I really like his odds versus like a Shavkat or an Usman, whoever's going to be the champion. If it's not Bilal, I think he's going to go up after this fight against Tsarukyan. I think he's going to try and get double champ status for the welterweight belt. I know people want to see the Ilia Topuria fight, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think Ilia is just going to keep winning. I think Islam's going to keep winning, and like I know that you want to like take advantage of the fights while they're hot and while they're still here, because like what if Topuria loses and we're not going to have this superstar fight anymore? I get it, but this guy just doesn't really have much else at lightweight, so he's going to go up and try and get double champ status. And if Bilal is champion, if Michael Chandler beats Oliveira, they're probably just going to do Makhachev versus Chandler, which doesn't make any sense. But if Bilal is the champ, and Makhachev's going to want to stay active, he's going to want to fight a lightweight contender. I mean, looking at these rankings, but Neil Dariush and Matus Gamrot, 8 and 9 right now. That's what we're talking about. That's really left for Islam. So it's kind of cooked. It's either Chandler or Topuria, or he moves up to double champ status. I can't see anybody beating this guy right now. Like, he's one of those fighters, and I really love it because, like, I'm so sick of like the top 4 GOATs right now, man. Like the Mount Rushmore, like DJ and GSP and John Jones and Silva. Like that's who everyone was first to. Like I want new GOATs, man. Like let's get Khabib the fuck out of there, okay? I know Alexander Volkanovski is kind of the only one in the last couple years that's really cemented himself as like an argument for like a top 5 of all time. Like, but like now you have guys like Islam and Pereira and like even more that are on like the cusp, bro, of like really achieving like big greatness. And like, so even though Islam, like I didn't fuck with the dude at first, like it is exciting to have someone like break records and we get like new GOATs and new people at the top. Maybe we'll fucking see. But moving on. Up next, we got Paddy fucking Pimblett. Fucking hey, lad. You got a piece of pizza on you, mate. Gotta fill up the tummy a bit, you know? Paddy fucking Pimblett. I understand that this guy is probably one of the most hated fighters in the UFC right now. Maybe not as much after the King Ring win, but right after that Jared Gordon fight, you could say that he definitely was one of the most, like, despised fighters in the fucking company. And honestly, man, I think he gets way too much shit. After the Gordon fight, like, I wasn't stopping it. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, Gordon got fucking robbed. Clear as day. The fact that the judges gave the first round, blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to get started on this. I'm here to hype up Paddy, all right? I'm not going to start by shitting on him, but I understand it was a rough road for him after that, but he's still 6-0 in the UFC, and 4 out of 6 of his fights have gotten in performance bonuses. I understand that the Tony Ferguson win was the most impressive because Tony was, what, like 0-6 in his last 6 at that point, maybe 0-7, I don't even know, but the King Green went, I can't fucking say. All right, I'm just going to call him Bobby Green, bro. Fuck this shit. Bobby Green, dude, it was a really good win, to be honest. I mean, I know that he shot the takedown. Didn't really make much sense. I mean, so you're a wrestler now. No, but he went out there and he shot that shit. And then Paddy, man, is so fucking dangerous on the ground. I mean, I'm not talking Islam dangerous, but it's just like, he's still a threat down there. And Paddy's striking has been getting a lot better over the years. Like, he's a pretty solid, well-rounded fighter. And I think he's going to present a lot of problems for people. Like, if you hate Paddy, right? If you shit on Paddy, if you're not fucking with the guy, I don't blame you at all. Like, I'm not saying I'm a fan of him, but like, I do think he's going to be a serious contender next year. And it's so weird that we're in that timeline where Paddy could be a top 5 fighter by the end of 2025. But listen, especially with the company behind him pushing him. So, dude, I really think that Paddy, because I'm going to explain what I think is going to happen, okay? So, UFC just announced a fight night for March in London. I think Paddy versus Renato Moicano is either going to be the main or the co-main. I think that's a fantastic fight. I actually really like Renato Moicano. He's actually one of my favorites on the roster. I fuck with the dude. I think Paddy, as much as it hurts, all right, it fucking hurts. I think Paddy is going to beat Moicano. I think Moicano is going to be a favorite going in that fight, don't get me wrong, and with good reason. I'd like his chances on the feet and on the ground. But I think Paddy's just got this. This is Paddy's biggest test by far. Moicano's been around the game forever, and he's on his second prime right now, and he's looking better than he ever has before, really. And then after I think he beats Moicano, I mean, what? They're going to give him like a Rafael Fiziev, which I think he beats. I'm sorry if that's controversial. I'm sorry, all right? But I think he would beat Dariush, who's number 8 right now, okay? The tricky part, like, I can't see Paddy beating a Justin Gaethje, a Charles Oliveira, an Arman Tsarukyan, even a Dustin Poirier, a Max Holloway, okay? And those are the top 5. Like, I can't see Paddy beating any of those guys. Not now, not in a year from now. Like, I can't see it. But Dan Hooker at number 6, Chandler at 7, Dariush at 8, Gamrot at 9, and Moicano at 10. I think... I'm not saying all of them, but I think Paddy could win those matchups, okay? And then you have guys like BSD at 12, Jalen Turner at 3. I am confident when I say that, like, I think Paddy could beat both of those guys. Like, there are matchups in the top 10, I'm saying, that, like, Paddy, or the top 15, rather, that, like, Paddy, I think, has good chances against and can get the win. Again, when you get to the top 5, I think it's going to be tricky, but I think Paddy's going to go 2-0 next year. I think he's going to beat Moicano, and then he's going to either beat like a Fiziev or a Dariush. I don't think this guy's going to get like a title shot or anything crazy. I'm not saying it's going to be like Oliveira versus Pimblett. Like, what fucking timeline is that, bro? I wonder if Doctor Strange saw that shit. You know, in like Infinity War when he's twitching out and shit and he's seeing all the worlds. I wonder if he snapped back. He's like, oh god, Gaethje versus Pimblett, I'd rather just die. Moving on to Dricus Du Plessis, the middleweight champ. This one I feel like is going to be pretty controversial, but I'm going to stand by it. I think that Dricus is going to go in February or March, and I think he's going to beat Sean Strickland in the rematch. This guy has a real solid resume, and that would make him 9-0, right? So then what are you going to do afterwards, right? It'd be him versus Chimaev next. For some reason, I feel like this is just going to set shit ablaze, but I really do think that he can beat Khamzat Chimaev. Like, if that fight's going to happen, right now, at least, I'm leaning towards Du Plessis to win. Now, why, right? Because Chimaev just took out Whitaker in 1 round. Chimaev has been unfucking stoppable. He proved everybody wrong. Like, I thought Whitaker was going to beat Chimaev, and he fucking shut my ass up, dude. So, that bet hurt. But yeah, like, Dricus, I do like his chances. But why, right? I understand that Dricus fights like a fucking sober drunk man. I get that. I think this guy's going to go out there, and I think he's going to beat Chimaev because he did the same thing to Whitaker, but just on the feet. Came out with this insane aggression, and then he got the knockout. Du Plessis even got a takedown on Whitaker in that fight. So I think that they both had like similar vibes in terms of their performance against Whitaker. And I think Whitaker's a good example to use because other than Du Plessis, Chimaev, and Izzy, he's pretty much been unstoppable at middleweight for almost a decade. He's only lost to these 3 guys. So I think that says a lot about not only how good Whitaker is for just maintaining his, like, you know, spot on top for so long in that, like, top 3, but also just, like, he ain't no fucking gatekeeper. If you beat Whitaker, you're legit. And, like, Du Plessis and Chimaev did that. I think the exchanges on the ground are going to be insane. I think Du Plessis is going to get the better of Chimaev on the feet. It's going to be a fucking war. But don't get me wrong, this is like a pick'em for me, okay? It's a really competitive fight. If anybody thinks that Chimaev's gonna go out there and just fucking school Du Plessis, I think that's fair as fuck. Chimaev's a beast right now, but I really do think that I really like Du Plessis' chances in this one. I think he's gonna go 2-0 next year, and people are gonna be talking about him a lot fucking differently, and we're really gonna have to start considering this guy as maybe like a top 3 or 4 middleweight of all time. Maybe, dude. Maybe I'm just fucking talking out my ass. I don't know. But moving on to the next one. Moving on to Payton Talbott. This is the only unranked fighter we got on this one. I feel like this might be a bit of a basic pick, especially because I don't think we're going to get this guy against like a top 10 or maybe even a top 15 opponent next year. Ideally, would like to see him in the top 15 by then, but I'm not saying that they're just going to throw him to the wolves. I think they realize that the stardom potential this guy has. He's really fucking good on the feet. He's got an entertaining style. 3-0 in the UFC. To only 26, dog. I mean, this guy goes out there. He's got the bleach tattoo, which I really appreciate, but this guy goes out there and, like, yeah, he hasn't fought the most elite of competition yet, fucking Giannis Gamori, but like the Cameron Simon win is a really good win. I think that he was 9-1 at the time, and that was one of the rare times that the UFC chose to do a UFC like a prospect versus prospect matchup, which I feel like they don't do a lot nowadays, but like they went out there and they did it with this one. He looked like a monster in that one. He made Cameron look like he didn't even fucking belong, which is insane because Cameron in his own right is a great prospect. So it's just like this guy has a lot of potential. I think he's gonna win over the fans. Well, he already fucking did. This guy is whatever. I know that this is what people say. I'm not trying to just repeat, but this guy is literally what we thought that Sean O'Malley was gonna be, but he's actually fucking doing it. Like, I like this personality, and he fucks with Deftones. He fucks with Deftones, bro, alright? I'm sold, alright? But in all honesty, like, entertaining style in the cage. He's really fucking skilled. Been to the ground a couple times, and even then, he looks solid down there. So, I think the sky's the fucking limit for this guy, and I'm already a fan. I think he's just gonna keep growing. I've seen all of his fights so far. I'm sure most of us have, and it's just like, we're all on the same page with this one. I feel like this is probably like, this isn't a controversial one, right? We all know that Payton Talbott, like next year, I think he's gonna go 2 or 3-0. I know he's got a fight next January. He's fighting, what is it, UFC 311? It might be. I think he's fighting against Barcelos there though, and honestly, I like that 7-4 in the UFC. I think it's a really good step up for him. It makes sense. I mean, you're getting a guy who's been kind of around for a while, and I think Talbott can win that one. So I think he's going to go win that matchup at UFC 311, and then they're probably going to give him someone unranked around the summer, but still around like that upper echelon of like the unranked contenders, because bantamweight's fucking stacked. Like even outside the rankings, there's fucking killers. And then I think by the end of the year, November, December, I think they're going to give him somebody in the top 15. Looking right now in the rankings, maybe the winner or loser of Martinez versus McGee this weekend, maybe Kyler Phillips, maybe you could do Montel Jackson. I mean, give this guy Mario Batista, bro. Send Batista's bitch ass to the fucking Shadow Realm, please, dude. Did y'all see the video, by the way, of Cejudo fucking schooling him? That shit was funny as fuck. But yeah, Payton Talbott, I really like what he's gonna do next year. I think he's gonna be 3-0, and by the end of the year, he'll be in the top 15. So moving on to the undisputed fucking heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall. He's about to be after this weekend. John Jones literally said that he would rather vacate the fucking belt. He would rather, this is our champion, he would rather vacate the belt and fight Pereira for a BMF title instead of fighting Tommy Boy. So I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of this Jones shit. I know it's Jones fight week. I don't give a fuck. Tom is the champ, bro. All right, he's gonna be the champ, because if Stipe goes out there and wins, he's gonna retire, okay? And if Jones goes out there and wins, he's made it so clear as fucking day. You can offer this guy $1 billion. Legitimately, he still would refuse to fight Tom. It's just the ducking is insane. So Tom is the champ at this point. He's undefeated in the UFC. I mean, I know that the Curtis Blades injury loss, so I kind of have to count that, but it was like, what, like 15 seconds, some crazy shit like that, so it wasn't really a loss. Undefeated in the UFC. This guy literally had to defend his interim title, I'm pretty sure for the first time. I forgot who it was last, but it's been like over a decade, like since someone had to defend an interim fucking title. So he just wanted to be active, and even then, like, it just feels like Jones and Stipe and Dana, they're just trying to fuck this guy out of his prime in his career. You know that Tom would have fought twice this year if he could. Like before the injury, he was an active fighter, and I think he still wants to be. He's just waiting for all this shit to go down with the heavyweight title picture. This guy has so much star potential. This is the guy that the UK needed. Okay, Michael Bisping, all due respect, I love Bisping and like he paved the way, but it's just like Leon Edwards was not it, okay? It was a boring champion and a guy that headshot Debrev. I want to fight Gilbert Burns next, Kobe Covington, you know what I mean? Let's do the rematch. Headshot Debrev. Tom is he's a finisher, okay? He has a good personality. Is it the most like outwards or brash? No, it's not. But like, he is who he is. I think it's pretty funny, to be honest. But like, he could be a draw. He could be a heavyweight champion that we fucking need. Like, finally, I know, like, he could be a heavyweight champion that keeps retaining and will be on top. And we haven't seen that since Stipe. I mean, it's been just, the belt's just been thrown around since then. So I think this will be the first guy since Stipe to go out there and like be a champion for a while. This guy is just leagues ahead of the rest of the top 10. I mean, he's beaten most of the top 10 already. The only one I could think of, notably, that he really hasn't fought is like Jarinzo Rosenstrike and Cyril Gane. And I think he beats both of those guys by however the fuck he wants. If Volkov beats Gane, you could do that rematch. But it's like, I think Aspinall just beats Volkov again. So it's like, this guy is exactly what the heavyweight division needs. He's exactly what the UK needs. His last 2 wins over Curtis Blades and Sergey Pavlovich are really good wins. He has the shortest average fight time in UFC history. He's just been done so fucking dirty. Not only having to defend the interim title, but even like the boss going out of his way. Okay, if Jones says it, it's one thing that you don't deserve this, but when the boss, Dana, the guy who should be promoting this guy more than anybody, is saying this shit, it's a crime. Tom Aspinall is going to go 2-0 next year. I don't know who he's going to get matched up against. I think he beats Pereira. I think he beats Gane. I think he beats Volkov in a rematch. I think he beats Rosenstruck. I think he beats Pavlovich in a rematch. I mean, I don't see any major problems for this guy going in next year. I think there's threats to him, but I think it's just leagues. I think he's just leagues ahead right now. There's not a lot of depth to the heavyweight division, and I think it shows. So Tom Aspinall, 2-0 next year. I don't know against who, but this guy has been absolutely done dirty. So moving on, Anthony Hernandez, the number 13 middleweight dude, 7-2 in the UFC, 31 years old, which I know was kind of like hitting your prime, especially at middleweight. So I like that age, man, and this guy is a fucking finisher. 92% finish rate, had a really good last 2 wins. He's just on a good win streak right now in general. But Michel Pereira and Roman Kopylov, I know that both of these guys are not big grapplers, and Hernandez is, but it's just like, I don't think it matters. Like, this guy makes grappling entertaining. Like, he goes out there and he's not just doing it with the intent to lay on you until the round is over or fucking earn points. Like, he's going out there with the intent of advancing positions and taking your head off. And all right, whether it's on the feet or on the ground, like, he wants to finish. He's entertaining as fuck. He's in a division that really, you know, we're seeing in welterweight and middleweight, I feel like, especially of all the divisions. I know we're in like the turning of a new generation right now in general, in these rankings and just all the divisions, but welterweight and middleweight especially, like, the prospects are taking the fuck over. And Hernandez, I know he's been around a little bit longer than like a normal prospect would be, but like, he's on the fucking rise. I think this guy's gonna go 2 or 3-0 next year. He's looked absolutely insane. He's good on the feet and he's amazing on the ground. He has dangerous fucking intentions. I mean, let's just match him up with some of the middleweights real quick. I got the rankings in front of me. Nasruddin Imavov at 5. I think he beats him. And I know Imavov's really good, so don't get me wrong, but Cal Baraujo at 6, I think that one, shit, that's a really tough fight. I'd probably lean towards Baraujo, but Baraujo is going to be a monster next year. Number 7 and number 8. Number 9, Vettori, Cannonier, and Allen. I think he beats all 3 of those guys. I'm serious. 10 and 11, Delidze and Costa. 12, Hermanson. I think he beats all those guys. Like, these are the guys that's ahead of Anthony Hernandez. Like, I'm not saying that this guy is, like, the next big thing and the next champion, but, like, this guy is not being talked about enough. I love that the UFC did Hernandez versus Pereira as, like, a main event, because that was a fight worthy of being in the spotlight, because I knew, and I think a lot of people knew, that whoever won that fight is going to be around that top 10 to top 5 for the next few years. Like, they were cutting out prospect versus prospect. Both of them are big finishers and were on mean winning streaks, and Pereira just looked garbage after that first round, and Hernandez just fucked him up and picked him apart. So I like a lot of the matchups. I mean, I think the biggest challenges for Hernandez are going to be like a Du Plessis, a Chimaev, an Adesanya, a Strickland, a Whitaker, and a Baraujo. So pretty much that top 5 range. That's where you start questioning. I know that, like, you're like, oh, Sean and Izzy, they're not grapplers. Like, he'd go out there and fuck them up. And I understand that, but, like, Sean and Izzy have fought grapplers before, and they've won. So styles make fights, and, like, timing is everything. And, like, we'll just have to see. But I think I'm confident that besides that top 5, he's beating everybody. Like, I think he's going to go 2-0 next year. They're going to match him up with, like, a Brendan Allen, a Roman Delidze, or a Marvin Vettori. He's just going to rise the ranks. I think he beats all those guys. So I think he's going to go 2-0 next year. This guy is dangerous as fuck, and he's going to be looking to be in the top 5 probably around like a 2026 or something. But this guy's about to be fucking dangerous. He's entertaining as hell. Moving on up next to the number 7 ranked welterweight, Ian Machado Garry. I'm not scared of anyone. Fuck this guy, bro. Can I just say that this guy, I just want to preface, fuck this guy, dude. In my opinion, he is one of the most unlikable guys on the roster right now, any division. I'm sorry. If you're a fan of this guy, I'm not going to judge you. You and all the other guys who get to fuck his wife, I'm not blaming you guys. On the realest note, though, right, as much as I don't really like this guy, I gotta respect him. I really do. Why is that, right? Because I'm shitting on this guy. Because this guy fucking fights people. This guy is not like a Kobe Covington. He's just sitting on the bench. He's not like some of these fighters. Like, it's just like there's more and more of them every fucking year that are just being so picky and choosy with who you want to fight and like your route to the title. You just want to get there in the fastest amount of time. Gary wants to fucking fight everybody in the rankings, okay? And he's been doing it so far. I mean, he has wins over MVP, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, and now he's fighting Joaquin Buckley, who's number 9. And like the thing about Gary is that like he's been fighting down his past couple fights. He doesn't care. Like he just wants to keep racking up names in the top 15 because like he just wants to get closer to the title shot. And like he wants to fight Shavkat, he wants to fight Usman, he wants to fight Edwards, he wants to fight JDM, he wants to fight Kobe, like, and he's been open about all this, like, and he's serious. And like that part about Ian Gary I do fuck with, and if everybody had that mindset in the goddamn division we would be far ahead. But unfortunately it all is going to the one that we can't fucking stand. So that's part of why I think this guy's going to be so successful next year, is because he is actually going out there and wants to just take fights. I think he's going to go out in December in the Tampa card and he's going to beat Joaquin Buckley. So he's going to maintain his number 7 spot. I think next year, I mean, wait, is this Gary? Was this his 3rd or 4th fight? This is Joaquin Buckley's 4th fight this year, and this is Ian Gary's 3rd. So both these guys are active as fuck. But I mean, Gary, dude, like he wants to be active. He's been active since he's gotten in the UFC. Next year, I think he's going to fight 2 or 3 more times. I brought up JDM earlier, who's in the same division. I think that JDM can go a lot farther. I understand that Ian Gary is undefeated. He has a fuck ton of plot armor. I'm just going to say that right now. I think that's helped him a lot already so far. I'm not just saying like a Paddy Pimblett scorecard thing. Like I think just for some reason, it's in the storybook, man. All right, it's in the plot that Ian Gary is meant to be in the top 5. I think Ian Gary would beat Leon Edwards. I'm sorry if that's fucking controversial. I would want to see that fight, but like they're both really technical, maintaining the distance kind of fighters, point fighters, one might say, especially as of late for Gary. But I still like Gary's chances in that fight. I think that JDM would give him a lot of fucking problems. I think he would lose to JDM. Shavkat, I think he would lose to Shavkat. Usman, if it was Usman 2 years ago, I think Usman would fuck him up. But nowadays, I don't know. I think it could be kind of competitive. But Ian Garry doesn't have like as clear of a route to the title, I feel like, as JDM does. JDM, I feel like, is just a superior fighter. And I'm using him as an example because I talked about him earlier and they're in the same division. Garry, though, like, he's gonna keep getting wins. I don't know who he's gonna be up against next. Like, I think Edwards is probably the most favorable matchup. Maybe Colby Covington, because Colby Covington, I think, Colby Covington has the fucking wrestling and he does have the pace and pressure and volume, but like, we didn't see any of that in the last fight. Leon Edwards shut his shit down. I know that Leon has good takedown defense. He has good defensive grappling. Don't get me wrong. Leon was the champ. He was the champ for the fucking reason. First guy to take down Kamaru, but he's not known for his wrestling. Like, Leon's primarily a striker. And when he's just shutting down Colby like that, and Colby had no gas, he wasn't moving forward in that fight at all. I think if that Colby showed up against Ian Garry would win. Sean Brady would present big problems for Garry as well, I feel like. I don't know. There's problems for Garry, but I think he also can get a few wins. I think he could beat a Leon Edwards and a Colby Covington. Maybe even an Usman nowadays, but it's hard to tell because Usman is still kind of fucking in it. But Rakhmonov, Brady, and JDM, I feel like are going to be problems for him. Not to just walk past Joaquin Buckley either. Joaquin Buckley could definitely get the win. That'd be huge for him. But yeah, I think Ian Garry, not the most entertaining fighter and a pretty bad personality, but I do respect that this guy goes out there and fucking fights, no matter who it is. And he wants to be active, and I think we need that. So moving on, Ilia Topuria. The thing about Ilia, dude, this guy is 27 years old, all right? He's a year older than Payton Talbott. It's fucking insane. He's 8-0 in the UFC. Ryan Hall, Damon Jackson, Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell, and then Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Like, especially, you got to keep it in mind, those last two names are top 10 or top 15, fighters of all time. Volk is a top 5. So to get that, like, Topuria is already in the argument for a top 20 fighter of all time. Some people already put him in the top 10. I think that's a bit fucking insane. All right, like, let's slow down. Let's slow down, bro. Let this guy fight Lopez or some shit, but still. He's looking unstoppable. Him and Islam, like, especially with Jones retiring and Pereira being probably a year or two, maybe 3 away from retiring, like, I think Topuria and Makhachev are going to be, like, the future of the just on top of the UFC pound for pound rankings for a while. And that's why I think this fight against the two is inevitable, but I think Topuria is going to go out there and whip Volk in the rematch as much as it hurts. It hurts, dude. I don't even want to be talking about this shit, all right? I think Topuria can beat Volk however he wants, on the ground, on the feet, through the distance. Like, he just looks better after every round. Like, this guy is entertaining. He has a fun fight style. He has no problem playing the villain role of the UFC. He looks unfucking stoppable. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters in the company right now. He's a finisher. I think he's going to beat Diego Lopez. I think he's going to beat Alexander Volkanovski. I think he would beat the winner of Sterling and Evloev. Like, I don't see anybody beating this guy anytime soon. The only threat I could see to him in the next 2 years, honestly, unless there's some contender I don't fucking know about that's just going to rise through the ranks, it'd be Islam Makhachev, and that's up a weight class, and I don't know if that fight is going to happen anytime soon or at all. But Ilia Topuria is unstoppable. He's going to get 1 or 2 title defenses next year. I hope we get to see this guy fight twice. But this whole interim title shit and the Volk situation, it's really put a stall in it. Topuria probably going to get a title defense or 2 next year, and he's good for the UFC. He's good for the division. We need a kind of a villain, right? We need a villain who's not a John Jones. John Jones is a villain because he fucking pussyfoots around shit. He pops for drug tests, and he hits pregnant lady with his fucking car and then runs away. We don't need that kind of villain. Topuria is the villain that we fucking need, that we actually wanted to into. So moving on to the last one we got here, Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, I'm not an Umar guy, really, at all, and I'm a big Corey Sandhagen fan. Like, Sandhagen is in probably, like, my top 5 favorite fighters, so it's just, like, for him to go out there and he whooped Corey. Don't get me wrong. It was competitive, though. Like, I know it was a 49-46, but Corey did not, like, until really, like, the 5th round, like, Corey made it pretty competitive. The 5th round, you could tell that Umar was starting to carry away, and you could tell Corey was pretty frustrated with the whole thing, but just still, he's only 28 years old. Obviously, he has the Nurmagomedov name. The thing is, like, if you told me maybe like this summer, like who would win between Umar and Merab, I would have said Merab. I actually think the matchup versus him and Umar, even though it's 2 primarily grappler-based fighters, like I think that's actually a really intriguing fight. Like, I would be more intrigued for it though, and this is what I was going to say earlier, if Merab wasn't just ducking. Hey guys, Dana, whatever you want, brother. Sean O'Malley for the quadrilogy, brother. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, they literally panned at UFC 306 to the camera of Umar, and he's like, hey guys, I am so happy. Sean O'Malley, like, oh, dude, like, just whatever you want, Dana. just had no intention of wanting to fight Umar, and even that, how he's handled himself, how he's handled himself in regards to like fighting Umar, he's just been so ducky about it, and it's not, look, is ducky a fucking phrase? I don't fucking know, that's retarded, but I just think that he's been ducking Umar, and that does not make me like his chances in that fight, because like I would have said before, like I think that's a pick'em fight, or maybe like Merab would be the favorite. Now I'm going with Umar, and I don't really have to think like, yeah, I have to think about it because obviously it's a really close fight, but just that whole demeanor on Merab's side of things, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it. It shows a lack of confidence in terms of this opponent, and Merab's been unstoppable lately and has one of the best resumes in bantamweight history. So like if he goes out and beat Umar, I could say that he'd be like a bantamweight GOAT, to be honest. I'm sorry if that hurts, but he would have beaten 4 former champions and a Nurmagomedov, who I feel like Dana and everyone is saying is the next number 1 contender right now. So it's just like, I think Umar is going to go beat Merab anywhere from like January to April. I don't know when the fight's going to happen, but he's going to beat Merab, and then he's going to fight the winner of Figgy and Umar, Figgy and Jan. They're fighting next fucking weekend. That's a great fight. But I'm assuming Figgy or Jan will be next after Umar. So, like, Umar will fight and probably beat the winner of them. The thing that makes Umar so dangerous is that, yeah, he has good grappling, but he's actually really clean on the feet. Even Corey, like, if he prepped more so for the striking, I feel like Corey could have, performed better or won that fight. But he was so focused on the wrestling, and that's why he did well in the wrestling exchanges against Umar, but he forgot how good of a fucking striker he is. But so Umar's pretty well-rounded. He's getting better and better. He's only 28 years old. Was kind of just fighting cans before. It was Corey Sandhagen, which is why I and a lot of other people were like, fuck this guy. Like he's just getting handed shit. And I do think he's handed shit. Going from unranked to number 2 is pretty wild. Unranked opponents to number 2 is pretty wild. I know they've done shit like that before. Don't get me wrong. They have, like, the UFC has favorable people that they want to put up there, but still, I still think like he's really well rounded, and I don't see a lot of people, if he gets past Merab, and Merab's been unstoppable, I don't really see a lot of people that are going to get past him. So that is going to be it, guys, for who I think are the UFC fighters that are going to be unstoppable in 2025. A few honorable mentions: Carlos Prats, Michael Morales for the welterweights. Alex Pereira could go out and beat Ankalaev. And who knows, maybe he can get a heavyweight title after that. I'm not sure. Kyle Baraujo is going to be really fucking dangerous. I see big things for him. Tatsuro Taira for flyweight. Carlos Olberg for light heavyweight. Like, these are a few guys that I could see doing pretty well, but I wasn't as confident as to put, for different reasons, to put them on here, but they could all do great. So a bunch of fighters can. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys. We just hit 300 subscribers. I appreciate you guys a lot for that. Thank you so very much. All the Smoke MMA. Let me know what you guys saw of this video, what you think of my awful, my possibly awful takes. I'm pretty confident in them, but let me know. I want to hear you guys' opinions. We're here to talk MMA, so All the Smoke MMA. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy UFC 309 this weekend, and yeah, have a good one.